Maya Chen's fingers had turned blue 3 hours ago. At 18, paralyzed from the waist down, she'd survived 6 weeks on Montana's streets, but tonight's blizzard would be her last. The abandoned warehouse offered no heat, and her wheelchair had frozen to the concrete floor. She'd stopped shivering yesterday, which meant her body was shutting down. When the door crashed open, she didn't even flinch. Derek Reaper Sullivan stood in the doorway, his Hell's Angels patch illuminated by lightning, his scarred face registering something Maya hadn't seen in months, genuine shock. He took one look at her blue lips and whispered words that changed everything. "Jesus Christ, you're just a kid." Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comments and hit that subscribe button because this story goes places you won't believe. Stay with me until the end, because what happens between this biker and this girl will restore your faith in humanity. Derek had been checking the warehouse for the 3rd time that week. The Hells Angels owned the property through a shell company, and chapter president Marcus Pitbull Reeves wanted it secured before the winter storage season. Club business. Simple, in and out. Except nothing about finding an 18-year-old woman freezing to death was simple. "Can you hear me?" Derek knelt beside the wheelchair, his leather vest creaking in the silence. Maya's eyes focused slowly, recognition taking effort. "You're one of them." "One of who?" "The bikers. I've seen you. At Murphy's Gas. You don't notice people like me." Derek's jaw tightened. She was right. He'd walked past homeless people 1,000 times in 22 years with the club. Looked straight through them like they were ghosts. But something about this girl, about the wheelchair frozen to the floor, and the dignified way she held herself even while dying, cracked something inside his chest. "How long you been here?" 4 days, maybe 5. Lost track. "When did you last eat?" Maya's laugh was bitter, almost soundless. "Why, you gonna call someone social services? They're the ones who put me here." Derek stood pulling his phone from his jacket. Maya's hand shot out with surprising speed, gripping his wrist. Her fingers felt like ice. "Don't. Please. I aged out of the system. I'm 18. They can't help me anymore. They won't help me anymore." "You're dying." "I know." Her voice was calm, resigned. "But I'd rather die here than go back to another Richard Foster." "Who's Richard Foster?" "Last foster guardian. Took my disability checks. All of them. 6 months worth. When I turned 18, he kicked me out. Kept the money. Said I owed him for taking care of me." Derek's hands clenched into fists. Violence had been his language for 2 decades, but you couldn't punch hypothermia or bureaucratic cruelty. "Your wheelchair's frozen to the floor." "I noticed." "You got family. Anyone I can call?" "Dead. Car accident. 2 years ago. That's how I ended up." She gestured weakly at her legs. "Like this." Derek looked at her. Really looked at her. 18 years old. Should be in college, worried about exams and boys and what to wear on Friday night. Instead, she was dying alone in a warehouse because every system designed to protect her had failed. "I'm getting you out of here." "You can't. The wheelchair won't move." Derek didn't respond. He simply bent down, worked his leather vest off, and wrapped it around Maya's shoulders. Then he gripped the wheelchair handles and pulled. The ice cracked. The wheelchair didn't budge. "It's been here too long," Maya said. "The moisture from my breath, the cold, it's all frozen together." Derek pulled again, harder. His shoulder muscles screamed in protest. The wheelchair groaned but held fast. "Stop. You'll hurt yourself." "Yeah, well, that makes 2 of us." Derek circled the chair, examining the problem. The wheels had frozen solid against the concrete moisture, creating an icy bond stronger than any lock. "I'm gonna have to carry you." "No. Wasn't asking." I don't know you. I can't." Derek knelt again, bringing himself to her eye level. Listen to me real careful. My name's Derek Sullivan. People call me Reaper. I've been with the Hells Angels for 22 years. I've done things I'm not proud of, hurt people who probably deserved it, and some who didn't. But I've never in my life hurt someone who couldn't fight back, and I'm not about to start with a freezing girl in a wheelchair. Now you can trust me, or you can die here. Your choice. Maya studied his face. Hard lines, scars, eyes that had seen too much. But beneath all that, something else. Something that looked almost like desperation. Why do you care? The question hit Derek harder than any punch. Why did he care? He'd built his entire adult life on not caring on the Hells Angels code, that brotherhood was everything and outsiders were problems to be avoided. But looking at Maya, he saw himself at 17, aging out of foster care, with nothing but anger and nowhere to belong. Because nobody cared about me either, and I turned into someone who hurt people. Maybe if someone had cared back then, I'd be different now. Maybe I can't fix me, but I can get you to a hospital. Maya's eyes filled with tears that froze on her eyelashes. If you carry me, the wheelchair stays. I'll come back for it. It's all I have. Then I'll definitely come back for it. Derek slid his arms under Maya's body. She weighed nothing 90 pounds at most, her muscles atrophied from paralysis and starvation. As he lifted her, she made a small sound of pain. Sorry. Derek adjusted his grip. Tell me if I'm hurting you. Everything hurts. Has for a while. The walk to Derek's truck took 7 minutes that felt like 7 hours. The December wind cut through his shirt, but Maya had his vest, his heat. His motorcycle sat in the parking lot, useless for transporting someone who couldn't feel her legs. The truck was old, barely heated, but it ran. Derek settled Maya in the passenger seat, cranking the heat to maximum. Her lips were still blue, her breathing shallow. Stay with me, he said, pulling onto the empty highway toward Glacier Falls General Hospital. Talk to me. Tell me something. Like what? Anything. Your favorite color. What you wanted to be when you grew up. Anything that keeps you awake. Maya's head lolled against the window. Computer science. I was studying coding. Before. Before what? Before Richard stopped paying the bills. Before the college rescinded my acceptance. Before I had no address and couldn't prove I was stable enough for financial aid. Derek's phone buzzed. Marcus Pitbull Reeves. He ignored it. You're missing something, Maya observed. It can wait. Club business waits for no one. That's what they say, isn't it? Derek glanced at her. How do you know about the club? I'm homeless, not stupid. I hear things. See things. The Hells Angels run half of Glacier Falls. Everyone knows. The phone buzzed again. Then again. You should answer, Maya said. You should stay awake. I'm trying, but I'm so tired. Fear spiked through Derek's chest. He'd seen hypothermia in Afghanistan during his military service before the club. The tiredness was dangerous, the body's surrender. Maya, look at me. She turned her head slowly. You don't get to quit. Not today. Not after surviving 6 weeks on the streets. You hear me? Why not? What's the point? The point is, you're 18, and you've got your whole life ahead of you. My whole life in a wheelchair with no money, no family, no future. Your whole life proving everyone wrong. The foster system that failed you. Richard Foster who stole from you. Every person who looked past you like you didn't matter. You survive this, you win. They lose. Something flickered in Maya's eyes. Anger, maybe? Or stubbornness. I do like winning, she whispered. Then stay awake and win. The hospital emergency entrance blazed with light. Derek carried Maya through the automatic doors, and the night nurse's expression shifted from routine to alarm in seconds. I need help, Derek shouted. 2 nurses appeared with a gurney. They transferred Maya with practiced efficiency, cutting away Derek's vest to check her vitals. How long has she been hypothermic? A young doctor asked, already starting an IV line. I don't know. Found her in a warehouse. At least 4 days. Is she your daughter, sister? No. Then who are you? Derek looked at Maya, at her blue lips, and closed eyes, at the monitors, already beeping warnings about her core temperature and heart rate. I'm the guy who found her. The doctor studied Derek's appearance. The Hell's Angels tattoos, the scarred knuckles, the rough edges of a man who lived outside polite society. We'll need information. Insurance, medical history, guardian contact. She doesn't have any of that. She's a foster kid who aged out, homeless. The doctor's expression hardened. Then we'll need to contact social services. Do what you need to do. Just don't let her die. They wheeled Maya away, and Derek stood in the empty corridor, his vest gone, his phone buzzing with increasing urgency, his entire night spiraling in directions he'd never anticipated. The phone finally stopped buzzing. Then it rang. Marcus Pitbull Reeves didn't call unless it was serious. Derek answered. Yeah. Where the hell are you? We got a situation. Need all hands at the clubhouse. Now. I'm at the hospital. Silence. Then, you hurt? No. Then get here. We got problems with the Reyes crew. They're moving product through our territory. We handle this tonight, or we got a war. Derek looked down the corridor where they'd taken Maya. I can't leave. Can't or won't. Both. Reaper? I don't know what's going on, but club business comes first. You know that. We all agreed to that. I found a girl dying in the warehouse. 18 years old, paralyzed, been starving for days. I brought her here. I'm not leaving until I know she's okay. The silence stretched longer. You brought some random girl to the hospital. Yeah, and you're choosing her over a club meeting. Yeah. You know what that means. Derek did know. The Hell's Angels operated on absolute loyalty. Brotherhood above everything. Choosing an outsider over the club was choosing exile. I know, Pitbull, but I can't walk away from this. Can't or won't. Does it matter? Marcus exhaled slowly. Been knowing you 22 years, Reaper. Never seen you hesitate on club business. Not once. This girl must be something special. She's dying alone. That's all she is. Get your head straight. We'll handle the Reyes situation tonight. But tomorrow you and me were having a conversation about priorities. You understand? I understand. The call ended. Derek slumped into a waiting room chair, exhaustion hitting him like a freight train. His phone buzzed again. Text from Tommy Rodriguez, his closest friend in the club. What the hell are you doing? Derek didn't respond. He couldn't explain what he didn't understand himself. Mr. Sullivan. The doctor approached her expression carefully neutral. Maya is stable. Her core temperature is rising, and we've started treatment for severe dehydration and malnutrition. She's going to survive. Relief flooded through Derek's chest. Can I see her? In a few minutes, but I need to ask you some questions. Maya's medical history shows she was in foster care. She has no listed guardian, no emergency contacts, and she's been without her prescribed medications for at least 6 weeks. What medications? Muscle relaxants for spasticity related to her spinal cord injury, pain management, antibiotics for recurrent urinary tract infections common with paralysis. None of this is cheap, and without insurance or Medicaid, the costs are substantial. How substantial? Her care tonight alone will run about $15,000. Long-term, she'll need physical therapy, proper wheelchair equipment, ongoing medical supervision. We're talking hundreds of thousands annually. Derek's legitimate income from the motorcycle repair shop he ran as a front brought in maybe $40,000 a year. The club activities brought in more, but that money came with strings attached. What happens if she can't pay? Hospital writes it off. Maya gets sent to a county facility until social services can place her somewhere. At 18, her options are limited. Most likely outcome is a group home for disabled adults. That's it. That's what happens to her. The doctor's expression softened. Mr. Sullivan, I've been doing this for 15 years. The system is overwhelmed. Maya fell through the cracks, and unfortunately she's not the first and won't be the last. The best thing you can do is let professionals handle her case. The professionals put her in that warehouse. I understand your frustration, but you have to be realistic about what you can offer. Do you have medical training resources for long-term care, legal guardianship rights? No. Then let us contact social services. They'll find placement for her. Derek looked at the doctor, seeing the same resignation he'd seen in Maya's eyes. The acceptance that some people just got dealt bad hands, and there was nothing to be done about it. I want to see her first. Maya's hospital room was small, sterile, filled with the quiet beeping of monitors. She lay in the bed, IV lines running into her arms. Her dark hair spread across the pillow. Her eyes opened when Derek entered. You came back? Said I would. People say lots of things. Maya's voice was stronger, less slurred. The warmth and fluids were working. Doesn't mean they do them. Derek pulled a chair beside her bed. How you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck, but alive. Which is weird. Weird how I'd accepted dying, made peace with it. Then you showed up and ruined everything. Derek couldn't tell if she was joking. Sorry for saving your life. I didn't ask you to. I know. Maya studied him carefully. The doctor said you refused to leave. Said you chose me over some important meeting. Wasn't that important? Liar. I heard her on the phone. Something about the Reyes crew and territory disputes. That's important. That's the kind of thing people get hurt over. How do you know about the Reyes crew? I told you. I'm homeless, not stupid. I know who runs what in this town. I know the Hells Angels and the Reyes crew have been circling each other for months. I know tonight was probably some kind of showdown, and you chose to stay here instead. Derek shifted uncomfortably. It's handled. Is it? Or did you just piss off your entire club for someone you don't even know? Probably both. Why? The question again. The one Derek couldn't answer. He looked at Maya, 18 and alone, and fighting for survival with the same fierce determination he'd once had before the world had beaten it out of him. Because I was you once. Different circumstances, but same result. Nobody gave a damn. I joined the military to escape, then the club, because I still didn't know how to belong anywhere. Spent 22 years being exactly what people expected from a foster kid, with anger issues and nowhere to go. Maybe I can't fix my life, but I can make sure yours turns out different. Maya's eyes filled with tears. You don't know me. Don't have to. Knowing you're worth saving is enough. What if I'm not? What if I'm just another broken thing that can't be fixed? Then we'll be broken together. Doesn't seem so bad? A nurse entered with medication, breaking the moment. Derek stood to leave. Wait, Maya said. Your vest. They cut it. I'm sorry. Derek looked at the ruined leather in the corner, the Hells Angels patch slashed down the middle. 22 years of brotherhood of belonging reduced to cut fabric. It's just a vest. It's not. I know what it means. I know what you gave up. I didn't give up anything. I made a choice. What happens now? Now you rest. Tomorrow we figure out next steps. I don't have next steps. I have nothing. As Derek reached the door, paused. You have me, for whatever that's worth. Why do you keep saying that? Because somebody should have said it to me 25 years ago. Maybe if they had, I wouldn't have spent my entire adult life trying to prove I didn't need anybody. After Derek left, Maya stared at the ceiling, processing everything. The biker who'd saved her life was either the best person she'd ever met or the most dangerous. She couldn't tell which. Her phone miraculously still working despite everything buzzed with a notification. Email from the Montana Department of Social Services. Subject Case Review. Maya Chen. She opened it with trembling hands. Dear Ms. Chen, our records indicate you have aged out of state custody as of your 18th birthday. All benefits, housing assistance, and medical coverage have been terminated. If you require further assistance, please contact our Adult Services Division. However, please note that as a legal adult, you are now responsible for your own care and housing arrangements. Maya deleted the email. Then she cried for the first time in 6 weeks, great shuddering sobs that hurt her chest and made the monitors beep warnings that brought nurses running. But she wasn't crying from sadness. She was crying from relief. From the impossible reality that someone had chosen her when she'd been completely worthless in the eyes of every system designed to help. Derek sat in his truck in the hospital parking lot, staring at his phone. 15 messages from club members. 3 voicemails from Marcus. 1 text from Tommy. Meeting went bad. Rhea's crew pushed back. 2 of ours in hospital. Where are you? He should go to the clubhouse, should explain himself, should remind everyone that he'd given 22 years of absolute loyalty. Instead, Derek called his insurance agent. Steve, it's Derek Sullivan. Reaper, it's 3 a.m. I need to know about my health insurance. Can I add a dependent? Silence. Then, you got a kid I don't know about. Something like that. How does it work? Well, for a spouse or biological child, it's straightforward. For anyone else, you'd need legal guardianship or adoption papers. Why? Just asking. Reaper, you trying to ensure some random person is fraud. I can't help you with that. What if she wasn't random? What if I was her legal guardian? Could I be? Steve exhaled slowly. That's complicated. You'd need to petition the court, prove you can provide stable housing and income, pass background checks. For someone your age with your history, it's unlikely they'd approve guardianship of an 18-year-old woman. Looks questionable. Even if she's got nowhere else to go? Even then, system doesn't care about good intentions. They care about optics and regulations. Derek ended the call and rested his forehead against the steering wheel. Every path forward required resources, legitimacy, or connections he didn't have. The club was his power, his protection, his identity. But the club's rules didn't allow for complications like Maya. His phone rang. Marcus Pitbull Reeves. Yeah. Clubhouse, now. This isn't optional. The line went dead. Derek looked back at the hospital, at the window, where he thought Maya's room might be, at the choice crystallizing in front of him with brutal clarity. He started the truck and drove toward the clubhouse, knowing that whatever happened next would change everything. The rusty spoke hadn't changed in 22 years. Same scarred bar, same nicotine-stained walls, same back room where the Hells Angels settled business that couldn't be settled anywhere else. Derek pushed through the door at 4 a.m. to find 12 men waiting, their faces ranging from concerned to furious. Marcus Pitbull Reeves sat at the head of the table, his president's gavel resting in front of him, like a judge's verdict waiting to drop. Sit down, Reaper. Derek sat. The silence pressed against his chest like a physical weight. You want to tell us what happened tonight? Marcus's voice was carefully controlled, which was worse than anger. I found someone who needed help. I helped them. You found some girl and missed the most important club meeting in 6 months. This from Danny Psycho Morrison, who'd hated Derek since day one. 2 of our brothers are in the hospital because the Reyes crew thought we were weak enough to push. You know why they thought that? Because our enforcer didn't show up. Who got hurt? Derek asked. Tommy took a knife to the ribs. Spider broke his arm in 3 places. Marcus leaned forward. Now tell me why an 18-year-old girl you don't know was more important than your brothers. Derek met his eyes. Because she was dying, and they weren't. That's it. That's your excuse. It's not an excuse. It's the reason. Psycho slammed his fist on the table. We don't do charity work. We don't save random people. We take care of our own, and she ain't our own. She is now, Derek said quietly. The room erupted. Voices overlapping, accusations flying. The fundamental question underneath all of it: had Derek chosen an outsider over the Brotherhood? Marcus brought the gavel down hard. Everybody shut up. The room fell silent. Reaper, you've been with this club since you were 23. You've bled for us, fought for us, never once put anything before the patch on your back. So I'm going to ask you straight. Is this girl worth losing everything you've built here? Derek thought about Maya's blue lips and hollow eyes. About the way she'd accepted death with more dignity than most men faced life. About the foster system that had chewed her up and spit her out, the same system that had failed him 25 years ago. Yeah, she is. Why? Because I looked at her and saw me at 17. Except she's better than I was. Stronger. She survived 6 weeks on the streets in a wheelchair and didn't break. I lasted 3 days before I was stealing to eat. If someone had given me a choice back then, maybe I wouldn't have spent the next 22 years proving I was exactly as worthless as everyone thought. Marcus studied him for a long moment. What's your plan here? You gonna be her daddy? Her big brother? What exactly are you trying to do? I don't know yet, but I know I can't walk away. Tommy Rodriguez spoke up from the corner, his voice strained from the knife wound. Let me tell you something about Reaper. 15 years ago, I got jumped outside a bar in Billings. 3 guys with bats and bad intentions. Reaper was supposed to be on a run to Spokane, but he turned around because I called. Drove 6 hours back, got there right as they were about to finish me. You all remember what he did to those guys? Silence. Put 2 in the hospital and 1 in the ground. Spent 18 months in county jail because he wouldn't rat on the club. Never complained once. Tommy shifted painfully. So if Reaper says this girl's worth it, maybe we should trust that he knows something we don't. Or maybe he's thinking with something other than his brain, Psycho muttered. Derek stood so fast his chair fell backward. Say that again. You heard me? Girl's 18, you're 45. Looks suspicious as hell. Derek's fist connected with Psycho's jaw before anyone could react. They went down in a tangle of limbs and leather, 22 years of mutual hatred finally spilling over. Marcus's gavel came down like thunder. Enough! Strong hands pulled them apart. Derek's knuckles were split, bleeding. Psycho's lip was already swelling. Both of you sit down and shut up. Marcus's voice could have cut steel. Reaper, you got something to say to Psycho's accusation. Derek wiped blood from his hand. That girl's paralyzed, starving and dying. I carried her to the hospital because she couldn't walk. Anyone who thinks there's something twisted about that can come say it to my face outside and we'll settle it properly. Nobody's settling anything. Marcus looked around the table. Here's what's happening. Reaper, you got 1 week to get this situation handled. Find a replacement, get her stable, then get back to being the brother we need. You do that, we forget tonight happened. And if I can't handle it in a week, then you choose. Her or the patch. Can't have both. Derek picked up his fallen chair and sat down. What about the Reyes crew? Already handled. They backed off when they realized we weren't playing. But it cost us, and that cost is on you. Marcus pointed at the door. Get out. Come back when you've got your priorities straight. Derek left without another word. Outside, the December morning was starting to brighten, the sun not yet visible, but promising. His phone buzzed. Text from the hospital. Maya Chen is awake and asking for you. He drove back to Glacier Falls General, his split knuckles throbbing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The security guard in the lobby recognized him from earlier and waved him through without question. Maya's room was on the 3rd floor. Derek knocked softly. Come in. She was sitting up in bed looking stronger than she had 6 hours ago. Color had returned to her face, and her eyes were clear. Those eyes tracked Derek's bloody knuckles immediately. What happened? Club meeting. They didn't like you missing it. That's an understatement. Derek sat in the same chair from before. How you feeling? Better. They've been pumping me full of fluids and food and medicine. Doctor says I'll live. Maya paused. She also says I can't stay here. Insurance issues. They're releasing me tomorrow. Releasing you where? Social worker came by an hour ago. Woman named Janet Williams. She's arranging placement in a group home in Billings. Says it's the best option for someone with my needs. Derek's chest tightened. You want to go to a group home? Want and can are different things. I don't have choices. Everyone's got choices. Really, what are mine? I'm 18, paralyzed, broke, and homeless. The group home gives me a bed, meals, and access to benefits. It's not great, but it's surviving. Surviving's not living. Maya's laugh was sharp. You sound like a greeting card. I've been surviving my whole life. 2 years in a wheelchair, 6 different foster homes, parents who loved me but died anyway. Surviving is what I'm good at. You deserve better than good enough. Says the man who just got in a fight with his brothers over me. Maya's voice hardened. I heard you on the phone earlier, asking about insurance, guardianship, legal stuff. You can't save me, Derek. I'm not a project you can fix to make yourself feel better about your past. The words hit like bullets. Derek stood, walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot where his truck sat next to family sedans and minivans. You're right. I can't save you. But I can help you save yourself. There's a difference. Is there because from where I'm sitting, you're trying to rescue someone you don't know for reasons you can't explain? That's not help. That's guilt. Derek turned to face her. What do you want, Maya? If you could have anything, what would it be? She didn't hesitate. I want to go back to school. I want to finish my computer science degree. I want to build programs that help people like me navigate systems that don't give a damn about us. I want a job, an apartment, a life that's mine, but wanting doesn't make it real. Why not? Because college costs money I don't have. Because disability benefits barely cover food, let alone tuition. Because the last time I tried to enroll, they rescinded my acceptance when they found out I was homeless. The system doesn't work for people like me. It works against us. Derek pulled out his phone, did a quick search. Montana State University has a disability services program. Full accommodations, accessible campus financial aid for students with disabilities. I already looked. The application deadline was October. It's December. So we call them. Explain the circumstances. They don't care about circumstances. They care about deadlines and regulations and things that look good on paper. I don't look good on paper. Then we make you look good on paper. Maya's frustration boiled over. Stop it. Stop acting like you can fix this with phone calls and good intentions. I've met people like you before. People who swoop in and make promises and disappear when things get complicated. And things always get complicated. I'm not going anywhere. You will. Everyone does. Not everyone. Not me. Why? Maya's voice cracked. Why do you keep insisting you're different? What do you want from me? Derek sat back down, his voice quiet. I don't want anything from you. I want something for you, a chance I never got. And what did that club meeting cost you? What did choosing me cost? 1 week. I've got 1 week to get you stable and placed somewhere, or I lose my patch. Maya's eyes widened. They're kicking you out. They're giving me a choice, you or them. Then choose them. I'm not worth losing everything you've built. That's not your decision to make. Yes, it is. Maya's heart monitor started beeping faster. You've been with the Hells Angels for 22 years. That's your family, your identity, everything you know. I'm a stranger you found in a warehouse. The math isn't complicated. You're right. It's not. Derek stood. I'm going to go get your wheelchair, the one you left in the warehouse. Then I'm going to find you a place to stay that's not a group home. Then we're going to figure out college and benefits and everything else. You got 1 week to decide if you want my help. After that, I choose you anyway, but at least you'll know you tried to talk me out of it. He left before Maya could respond. In the hallway, his phone rang. Unknown number. Yeah. Mr. Sullivan. This is Janet Williams from Social Services. I understand you brought Maya Chen to the hospital last night. That's right. I need to ask you some questions about your relationship with Ms. Chen. Derek's stomach dropped. What kind of questions? The kind that determine whether I need to file a report with law enforcement. An 18-year-old disabled woman found by a 45-year-old man with a criminal record raises certain concerns. Concerns about what? About the nature of your interest in Ms. Chen. About whether her situation is being exploited. I found her dying and took her to a hospital. That's called being a decent human being. I understand your perspective, Mr. Sullivan, but you have to understand mine. I've been doing this job for 12 years. I've seen every kind of situation, and not all of them are what they appear to be. Derek forced himself to stay calm. What do you need from me? I need you to stay away from Maya. No visits, no contact, no involvement in her case. We'll handle her placement through proper channels. She doesn't want to go to a group home. What Ms. Chen wants and what's best for her aren't always the same thing. She needs professional care, stable housing, and appropriate supervision. You can't provide any of that. How do you know what I can provide? Your background check tells me everything I need to know. Hells Angels assault charges criminal associates. You're not suitable guardian material, Mr. Sullivan. The best thing you can do for Maya is let professionals handle this. The line went dead. Derek stood in the hospital corridor, his week-long deadline suddenly feeling like an impossible deadline. He couldn't be Maya's guardian, couldn't legally help her, couldn't even visit without raising suspicion. His phone buzzed. Text from Tommy Reyes, crew, made another move. We need you. Another text. This one from Maya Janet Williams just called me. Said you're not allowed to contact me anymore. Thanks for trying. Derek walked to the hospital chapel, an empty room with uncomfortable chairs and stained glass that let in colored morning light. He hadn't prayed since his mother's funeral 28 years ago. Didn't really remember how. But he sat in that empty room and thought about choices and consequences and the girl upstairs who'd decided surviving was enough because no one had ever shown her she deserved more. His phone rang again. Marcus. Yeah. Reyes crew hit one of our storage units. Cleared it out, left a message that said, "We're weak. I need you here, brother. Need everyone here." I can't. Can't or won't? Pitbull, I'm asking you for 1 week, that's all. 1 week to help this girl, then I'm back full time. And if the club falls apart in that week, if we lose territory, lose respect, lose everything we've built, then I'll help rebuild it. That's not how this works, Reaper. You're either all in or you're out. No middle ground. Derek closed his eyes. Then I guess I'm out. The silence on the other end was deafening. Finally, Marcus spoke, his voice heavy. You sure about this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Turn in your patch by Friday. After that, you're not a brother anymore. You're just some guy we used to know. The call ended. Derek sat in the chapel for another 10 minutes, processing the magnitude of what he'd just done. 22 years of brotherhood gone. His entire identity surrendered. for a girl who didn't want his help, and a social worker who thought he was a predator. Upstairs, Maya stared at the ceiling and tried to make sense of the past 12 hours. A biker had saved her life, fought his club for her, and was now banned from seeing her by the very system he'd tried to help her navigate. The irony wasn't lost on her. The one person who'd helped her in 6 weeks was being punished for it. Janet Williams appeared in the doorway, clipboard in hand. "Maya, we need to discuss your placement options. The group home in Billings. It's the best option given your circumstances. Fully accessible medical staff on site 3 meals a day. You'll share a room with one other resident, but you'll have privacy curtains. When do I go? Transport's arranged for tomorrow morning. Is there anything you need to bring?" Maya looked around the hospital room at the few possessions she owned. "Just my wheelchair. It's still at the warehouse. We'll get you a new one. Standard issue through Medicaid." "I want mine." Janet's expression softened slightly. "Maya, I understand attachment to personal items, but we have to be practical. The warehouse is private property, and frankly, retrieving your old wheelchair is complicated. It's all I have from before." "Before what?" "Before everything fell apart. My parents bought that wheelchair. It's the last thing they gave me." Janet made a note on her clipboard. "I'll see what I can do. In the meantime, try to rest. Tomorrow's a big transition." After she left, Maya reached for her phone. Against every instinct telling her to protect herself, she typed a message to Derek. "My wheelchair. The one in the warehouse. My parents bought it 2 years ago, right before they died. I know Janet said you can't contact me, but if you can get it, I'd appreciate it." She hit send before she could change her mind. Derek was driving back to the warehouse when the text came through. He pulled over, read it twice, then made a U-turn. The warehouse looked different in daylight. Less threatening, more abandoned. The door he'd crashed through last night hung slightly ajar. Inside Maya's wheelchair sat exactly where he'd left it, still frozen to the concrete floor. Derek spent 45 minutes carefully chipping away the ice, preserving every component. The wheelchair was old, but well-maintained, its frame customized with padding and adjustments that spoke of parents who'd cared deeply about their daughter's comfort. He loaded it into his truck bed, covering it with a tarp to protect it from road salt and weather. Then he drove to his cabin, the same cabin Marcus had told him to use for getting his priorities straight. The place was exactly as he'd left it that morning. Empty cold, designed for a man who lived alone and liked it that way. Derek looked around, seeing it through Maya's eyes. No accessibility, no accommodations, nothing that would make life easier for someone in a wheelchair. He spent the rest of the day installing ramps, widening doorways, and converting his spare room into something that might work. The physical labor helped him avoid thinking about what he'd just given up. By evening, he'd transformed his cabin into something approaching accessible. Not perfect, but functional. He took photos, sent them to Maya with a simple message. "Got your wheelchair. If the group home doesn't work out, there's another option." Maya's response came 2 hours later. "Janet says I can't stay with you." "Legal issues," Derek typed back. "Not asking you to stay with me, asking you to know you have choices." No response. Derek sat on his porch as darkness fell. His phone silent, his futures uncertain. He'd gambled everything on a girl who didn't trust him, and a system actively working against both of them. Somewhere in Glacier Falls, Maya lay in her hospital bed, staring at photos of a cabin she'd never see, and trying to understand why a stranger kept insisting she was worth the trouble. And in the back room of the Rusty Spoke, Marcus Pitbull Reeves called an emergency meeting to discuss what to do about a brother who'd chosen an outsider over the patch. The vote was unanimous. Derek Sullivan was officially out. The transport van arrived at 6 in the morning. Maya watched through her hospital window as 2 orderlies loaded a standard-issue wheelchair into the back, the kind with institutional gray padding, and wheels that squeaked. Nothing like the custom chair her parents had saved for months to buy. Janet Williams appeared in the doorway with discharge papers. Ready? Do I have a choice? You always have choices, Maya. This one just happens to be the best available option. Maya signed the papers without reading them. What was the point? The group home in Billings was 60 miles from Glacier Falls, 60 miles from the only person who'd helped her in 6 weeks, 60 miles from whatever strange connection had formed between her and a biker she barely knew. Her phone buzzed. Text from Derek. "Don't get in that van." She deleted it immediately. Janet was watching. Problem? No, just deleting spam. The orderlies came for her, transferring her from the hospital bed to the institutional wheelchair with practiced efficiency. The vinyl was cold against her skin. The footrests didn't adjust properly. Her parents' chair had been perfect, molded to her body through 2 years of daily use. "Where's my personal wheelchair?" Maya asked. Janet consulted her clipboard. "We weren't able to retrieve it. Property access issues. But Medicaid will provide a replacement once you're settled." "I don't want a replacement. I want mine." "Sometimes we have to accept what's available rather than what we prefer." Maya's hands clenched on the armrests. Everything in her life had been about accepting what was available. Foster homes that smelled like cigarettes and disappointment, caseworkers who saw her as a file number, systems designed to process people efficiently rather than help them effectively. The van was waiting outside. Maya looked at it and saw the next chapter of accepting less than she deserved. Her phone buzzed again. This time she didn't delete the message immediately. "Your wheelchair is in my truck. Your choice, but I'm in the parking lot." Janet was talking to the orderlies about transport protocols. Maya looked at her phone at the message that represented everything risky and uncertain and completely outside the safe predictability of the group home. "I need to use the bathroom," Maya said suddenly. Janet checked her watch. "We're on a schedule. Unless you want me to have an accident in the van, I need to go now." 5 minutes later, Maya was alone in the accessible bathroom. Her phone pressed to her ear as Derek answered on the first ring. "Where are you?" she whispered. "South parking lot. Blue Ford F-150. You coming?" "I don't know. This is crazy." "Probably. But so is spending the rest of your life accepting what other people decide is good enough for you." "Janet will call the police. She'll say you kidnapped me." "You're 18. It's not kidnapping if you choose to leave." "She'll say you manipulated me." "Did I?" Maya closed her eyes. "No, but she won't believe that." "Maya, I can't make this decision for you, but I can tell you that van goes to Billings, and Billings is where dreams go to die on a waiting list. Your chair is here. Your choice is here. Question is whether you're brave enough to take it." "I'm terrified." "Good. Means you're paying attention. You got 2 minutes before Janet comes looking. Bathroom has a back exit that leads to the employee lot. From there it's 50 yards to where I'm parked." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Every rational part of her brain screamed that this was insane. Running away with a Hell's Angel she'd known for less than 24 hours, abandoning the security of the group home, risking everything on a man who'd already lost his entire brotherhood for her. But the alternative was that institutional wheelchair and a shared room in Billings, and the slow suffocation of a life decided by other people's convenience. "I'm coming." Maya hung up and wheeled herself to the back exit. The employee lot was exactly where Derek said it would be. The blue Ford was idling near the far corner. She pushed the wheels hard, racing across asphalt, praying no one looked out the right window at the right moment. Derek met her halfway, lifting her into the passenger seat with the same careful strength he'd used in the warehouse. Her parents' wheelchair folded into the truck bed in seconds. "You sure about this?" he asked. "No. Drive." Derek pulled out of the parking lot just as Janet Williams emerged from the hospital's front entrance phone, already pressed to her ear. Maya watched her in the side mirror, watched her realize what had happened, watched the exact moment when this stopped being a routine placement and became a problem. "She's calling the cops," Maya said. "I know. They'll think you kidnapped me." "Probably. You could go to jail." "Won't be my first time." Derek merged onto the highway, heading away from Billings, away from the group home, away from every safe and sensible option. "You hungry?" The question was so unexpected that Maya almost laughed. "Starving?" "Good. There's a diner 20 miles from here. Best pancakes in Montana. We'll get you fed, then figure out next steps." "What next steps? We're fugitives. We're two people having breakfast. Big difference." Maya's phone exploded with calls and texts. Janet Williams, the hospital numbers she didn't recognize. She turned it off completely. "Smart," Derek said. "They'll track the GPS if it's on." "How do you know that 22 years running from various authorities teaches you a few things?" The diner appeared exactly when Derek promised a weathered building off Highway 89 that looked like it had been serving travelers since the 1950s. Derek carried Maya inside, while a waitress watched with curious eyes. "Booth or counter?" she asked. "Booth. And we need a phone." The waitress pointed to a payphone near the restrooms, an actual relic from before cell phones made them obsolete. Derek settled Maya in the booth, then disappeared to make a call, while Maya studied the menu and tried to process what she'd just done. She'd run away. Actually run away from a legal placement with a social worker who probably had every cop in Montana looking for her by now. With a man she barely knew, who'd just thrown away his entire life for reasons he couldn't quite explain. The rational thing would be to call Janet, apologize, return to the hospital, and accept the group home placement. The rational thing would be to stop trusting a stranger with a criminal past and gang affiliations. But rational had gotten her starving in a warehouse with a frozen wheelchair and blue lips. Rational had gotten her 6 different foster homes and guardians who stole her disability checks. Rational had failed her repeatedly. Derek returned and slid into the booth across from her. "Ordered you the pancakes. And I called a lawyer." "A lawyer? With what money?" "Tommy Rodriguez's brother is a public defender in Missoula. Owes me a favor. He's looking into the legalities of what we just did." The waitress brought coffee and orange juice. Maya wrapped her hands around the warm mug, grateful for something to hold on to. "What did he say?" "The lawyer. That you're 18 and legally allowed to refuse placement. That Janet Williams can't force you into the group home. But she can make life difficult by claiming you're mentally incompetent, or that I'm exerting undue influence." "Are you—" Derek met her eyes. "I showed you an option. You made a choice. That's not influence. That's freedom. Freedom doesn't pay bills or put a roof over my head." "No, but I can help with that." "How you just lost your income from the club? You lost everything." "I've got the motorcycle repair shop. It's legitimate, brings in enough to cover rent and food. And I've got the cabin. It's yours if you want it." Maya's throat tightened. "Why are you doing this?" "Because nobody did it for me, and because you remind me that there's a difference between surviving and living." The pancakes arrived, and Maya ate with the focused intensity of someone who'd gone too long without proper nutrition. Derek watched her, his own food untouched. "What happens now?" Maya asked between bites. "Now we make you impossible to ignore. We get you enrolled in school, get your benefits sorted, prove to Janet Williams and everyone else that you're not a victim who needs saving. You're a person who needs a chance. And if it doesn't work, then we try something else. But giving up isn't on the table." Maya's hands shook slightly as she set down her fork. "I'm scared." "I know. What if I'm not worth all this trouble?" Derek leaned forward. "Listen to me carefully. You survived 6 weeks on the streets in December in a wheelchair. You maintained your dignity and your hope when most people would have broken. You're brilliant enough to be studying computer science at 18. You're worth every bit of trouble and more. The question isn't whether you're worth it. The question is whether you believe it. Before Maya could respond, the diner door opened, and Janet Williams walked in, 2 police officers flanking her. Derek's hand moved toward his pocket, then stopped. Stay calm. Let me handle this. Janet approached the booth, her expression a mixture of anger and professional concern. Maya, you need to come with me right now. I'm not going to the group home. That's not your decision to make when you're under mental duress. I'm not under duress. I'm eating pancakes. One of the officers stepped forward. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. There are questions about your current situation. Derek stood slowly, hands visible and non-threatening. Officers, Maya is 18 years old and legally entitled to refuse placement. Check with your department's legal counsel if you don't believe me. And you are? The second officer asked. Derek Sullivan. I found Maya dying in a warehouse 3 days ago and took her to the hospital. Now I'm buying her breakfast. That's not a crime. Social Services has concerns about the nature of your relationship with Ms. Chen. Social Services can have all the concerns they want. Doesn't change the fact that Maya's an adult who can make her own choices. Janet's voice was sharp. She's vulnerable and disabled. The law provides protections for people in her situation. Maya's hands clenched on the table. I'm sitting right here. Maybe ask me what I want instead of talking about me like I'm not capable of answering. The diner had gone silent. Other patrons watched the drama unfold with the fascination of people who'd stumbled into better entertainment than they'd expected with their morning coffee. Janet sat down across from Maya, her voice softening. Maya, I know you're scared. I know the group home isn't ideal, but this man is a stranger with a criminal record and gang affiliations. You don't know what his real intentions are. His intentions were to keep me from freezing to death. That's more than the foster system ever did. That's not fair. Fair? Maya's voice rose. You want to talk about fair? Richard Foster stole 6 months of disability checks and you people did nothing. I spent 6 weeks starving because I aged out and nobody cared. Derek found me and helped me when every professional in the system had already given up. Don't tell me what's fair. The first officer shifted uncomfortably. Ms. Chen, we're just trying to make sure you're safe. I'm safer now than I've been in 6 weeks. But you don't know this man. I know he gave up everything to help someone he didn't have to help. I know he fought his entire club for me. I know he's the only person who's treated me like I matter. That's enough. Janet pulled out paperwork. I have a court order for psychiatric evaluation. The hospital psychiatrist believes you may be suffering from Stockholm Syndrome or trauma bonding. Derek's jaw tightened. Stockholm Syndrome requires captivity. Maya chose to leave the hospital. Big difference. She chose under your influence. She chose under her own free will. You want to drag her to a psychiatric ward and prove she's incompetent. Go ahead. But you better be prepared for the lawsuit that follows when she demonstrates she's perfectly capable of making decisions. The second officer spoke quietly to Janet. Ma'am, without evidence of immediate danger or legal incompetence, we can't forcibly remove her. She's an adult. She's vulnerable. Being vulnerable doesn't remove her legal rights. Janet's face flushed with frustration. Fine. Maya, I'm formally documenting that you refused protective services and chose to remain with an individual of questionable character. When this situation deteriorates, and it will, don't expect the state to rescue you again. She stood and walked out, the officers following. The diner remained silent for another moment, then gradually conversation resumed. Maya realized her entire body was shaking. Derek sat back down across from her. You okay? I just told off a social worker and 2 cops. You did good. Stood up for yourself. I'm terrified. Yeah, but you did it scared. That's called courage. Maya's phone, which she'd turned back on to record the confrontation as evidence, buzzed with a new message. Unknown number. This is Tommy Rodriguez, Derek's friend. My brother says you need to file paperwork immediately establishing yourself as independent and competent. Can you get to Missoula today? Derek read over her shoulder. Tommy's solid. If he's offering help, take it. Missoula is 2 hours away. Then we better get driving. But as they stood to leave, the diner door opened again. This time it was Marcus Pitbull Reeves, flanked by 3 Hells Angels members. The energy in the room shifted immediately, other patrons suddenly very interested in their food. Marcus approached the booth slowly. Reaper. I'm not Reaper anymore. You made that clear. Still need to talk. Derek positioned himself between Marcus and Maya. About what? About the fact that you just made the club look weak by choosing some girl over Brotherhood. About the fact that Rhea's crew is using your defection as proof we're falling apart. About the fact that Tommy got jumped last night because they think we can't protect our own anymore. Derek's fists clenched. Tommy, okay. Broken ribs concussion. He'll live. But this is on you. I didn't ask Reyes to jump him. You created the opening they exploited. Marcus glanced at Maya. This her, the one worth destroying everything for. Maya met his eyes despite her fear. I didn't ask him to destroy anything. I didn't ask for any of this. No, you just accepted it. Took a man's entire life and let him throw it away. That was his choice, not mine. You could have said no. Could have gone to the group home like you were supposed to. Derek's voice was low and dangerous. Pitbull, you got something to say to me, say it. Leave her out of this. Marcus studied them both, his expression unreadable. Club voted last night. Unanimous decision. You turn in your patch by Friday, or we come collect it. Your choice. Already made my choice. Then we're done here. Marcus turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. That cabin you're planning to set her up in, it's on club property. Technically, we own it through the Shell Corporation. You're evicted effective immediately. The words hit like a physical blow. Derek's entire plan, his one concrete offer of stability from Maya, had just evaporated. You can't do that. Already did. You got 48 hours to clear out. After that, we changed the locks. Marcus and his crew left. Maya and Derek sat in stunned silence. The cabin was supposed to be accessible, Maya said quietly. You spent all day yesterday making it work for me. I'll figure something else out. With what money you just lost your home? Derek's phone rang. Tommy Rodriguez, his voice strained with pain. Brother, I heard what Pitbull just did. That's cold even for him. How bad are you hurt? I'll live. Listen, my place has a spare room. It's not much, but it's got a bathroom you could modify for wheelchair access. You and Maya can stay there while you figure things out. Tommy, you're already in the hospital because of me. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Get your stuff from the cabin before Pitbull makes good on his eviction threat. I'll text you the address. The call ended. Derek looked at Maya, seeing his own uncertainty reflected in her eyes. This is getting complicated, she said. Yeah. We could still go back. I could call Janet, apologize, say I was confused. Is that what you want? Maya thought about the group home, the institutional wheelchair, the life of accepting whatever was offered because begging for better made you ungrateful. Then she thought about pancakes in a diner and a man who'd risked everything because he believed she deserved more. No. I want to go to Missoula and file paperwork that proves I'm competent to make my own choices. Then I want to figure out how to get back into school. Then I want to build a life that's mine. Derek smiled, the first genuine smile Maya had seen from him. Then that's what we'll do. They left the diner and drove toward Missoula Maya's phone. filling with messages from Janet Williams, threatening legal action, the hospital demanding payment for services rendered, and numbers she didn't recognize asking questions she wouldn't answer. But there was one message that made her pause. From an email address she vaguely recognized, Montana State University Office of Admissions. We received an inquiry about late enrollment for a student with extraordinary circumstances. Please call to discuss options. Maya showed Derek the message. Did you do this? Made a phone call while you were in the bathroom at the hospital. Explained your situation. Looks like someone listened. They'll want transcripts, applications, proof of financial stability. Then we'll get it for them, one step at a time. But Maya's relief was short-lived. As they crossed into Missoula city limits, Derek's phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. Yeah. Mr. Sullivan. This is Detective Morrison with the Glacier Falls Police Department. We need you to come in for questioning regarding allegations of custodial interference and potential exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Derek's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I haven't interfered with anyone's custody. Maya's 18 and made her own choice. That's one interpretation. Ms. Williams has another. We'd like to hear your side of the story, voluntarily, of course. And if I decline, then we get a warrant. Either way this conversation happens. Your choice whether it happens the easy way or the hard way. Derek looked at Maya, saw her fear and determination in equal measure, and made a decision that would define everything that came next. I'll come in, but I'm bringing a lawyer. That's your right. We'll see you tomorrow at 9. The call ended. Maya's voice was small. They think you kidnapped me. I know. This is my fault. This is the system's fault for making it impossible to help someone without it looking like exploitation. They pulled up to Tommy Rodriguez's apartment complex, a modest building on the edge of Missoula. Tommy answered the door in a hospital gown, his ribs wrapped in bandages, his face bruised, but determined. Welcome to Casa Rodriguez. It's not fancy, but it's got working heat and a bathroom that's almost accessible. Maya wheeled herself inside, seeing a space that was cluttered but clean, lived in, but welcoming. The spare room was small, barely big enough for a bed and her wheelchair, but it had a window that let in afternoon light. It's perfect, she said, meaning it. Tommy smiled, despite his obvious pain. My brother's expecting you at his office in an hour. He's got paperwork ready to file establishing Maya's independence and competency. Also got some contacts at MSU who might help with the enrollment situation. Derek helped Maya transfer from her wheelchair to the spare bed, then followed Tommy to the kitchen, where they could talk privately. This is going to get worse before it gets better, Tommy said. The club's pissed the cops are involved. Social services is building a case. You sure this girl's worth it? Derek looked through the doorway at Maya, who was already on her phone researching legal precedents for age-of-majority independence cases, her brilliant mind attacking problems with the same intensity she'd survived 6 weeks on the streets. Yeah, she's worth it. Then you better lawyer up good, because they're coming for you hard. In the spare bedroom, Maya typed a message to Janet Williams. I'm safe. I'm competent. I'm making my own choices. You don't have to agree, but you have to accept it. Then she opened her laptop and began filling out the Montana State University application, each typed word a small rebellion against every person who'd decided her potential didn't matter as much as their convenience. Outside storm clouds gathered over Missoula, promising snow and complications and a fight that was just beginning. Carlos Rodriguez's law office occupied the second floor of a building that had seen better decades. The elevator was broken, which meant Derek carried Maya up 2 flights of stairs, while her wheelchair bounced against his back. By the time they reached the top, both were breathing hard. Sorry, Maya said for the 3rd time. Stop apologizing. You didn't break the elevator. Carlos met them at the door, younger than Derek expected, maybe 35. with the sharp eyes of someone who'd fought uphill battles his whole career. He looked nothing like his brother Tommy, except for the same stubborn set to his jaw. "Come in. We've got about 45 minutes before the courthouse closes, and we need every second." Derek settled Maya in a chair across from Carlos's cluttered desk. Legal books stacked everywhere, case files threatening to avalanche coffee cups in various stages of abandonment. "Tommy filled me in on the basics," Carlos said, pulling up documents on his computer. 18-year-old aged out of foster care, refused group home placement, now being accused of incompetence by social services. "That about right?" "Pretty much," Maya said. "Except they're also saying Derek manipulated me." "Did he? No? Can you prove it?" Maya's hands tightened on her armrests. "How do you prove someone didn't manipulate you? How do you prove your own thoughts are your own?" "By demonstrating clear decision-making capacity and consistent behavior patterns. We file for immediate emancipation hearing, get you declared legally independent, removes any question of competency. But Maya, you need to understand what you're walking into. Janet Williams is building a case that you're vulnerable and need state protection. She'll bring hospital psychiatrists your medical records showing paralysis and prior trauma, everything that makes you look like someone who can't care for herself." "I've been caring for myself for 6 weeks." "Yeah, and you almost died. That's not exactly a strong argument for independence." Derek leaned forward. "What do we need to make this work? Evidence of stability. Housing income educational enrollment support system. Right now, Maya's got none of that. She's crashing in Tommy's spare room with no job, no school, no clear plan. Court sees that and agrees with social services." Maya's phone buzzed. "Email from Montana State University. We've reviewed your inquiry regarding late enrollment. Given your circumstances, we're willing to waive application deadlines pending review of transcripts and a personal interview. Please respond within 48 hours to schedule." She showed Carlos the email. "Is this enough proof I'm pursuing education?" "It's a start, but you need more. You need to show the court you're not just surviving, you're building a sustainable life. With what resources, I've got $300 in disability back pay that Richard Foster didn't steal. That's it." Carlos typed rapidly, pulling up information. "Montana has a program for disabled adults pursuing higher education. Covers tuition, housing, stipend, accessibility, equipment. You'd qualify, but the application process takes months." "I don't have months. The court hearing is when I can get us on the docket for next week if we file today. But that means you've got 7 days to prove you're competent and stable." Derek's phone rang. Detective Morrison. He let it go to voicemail. Carlos noticed. "You avoiding the cops? They want me for questioning. Think I exploited Maya." "Did you? I found her dying and helped her. That's it. Doesn't matter what you did. Matters what they can prove. And a 45-year-old ex-con with a teenage girl he met 3 days ago. That's going to look bad no matter how innocent it actually is. So what do I do? Answer their questions with me present. Be completely honest. Hope they see the truth instead of what they're expecting to see." Maya interrupted. "This is insane. We're treating Derek like a criminal because he helped me. The actual criminal, Richard Foster, is walking around free after stealing my money." And Carlos pulled up another screen. "About that, I did some checking. Richard Foster has a history. 4 previous foster kids, 3 filed complaints about financial abuse, all cases dismissed due to lack of evidence. He's careful. Can we go after him? Not without proof. And even with proof, recovery of stolen benefits is complicated. The system's not designed to help victims. It's designed to process cases efficiently." Maya slammed her hand on the desk, surprising everyone, including herself. "Then what's the point? What's the point of any of this, if the people who hurt me get away with it, and the people who help me get punished?" "The point," Carlos said quietly, "is that you're still alive. And alive means you can fight. Maybe you don't win every battle, but you keep fighting until something breaks in your favor." Derek's phone rang again. This time he answered. Yeah. Mr. Sullivan. This is Rachel Kim from Montana State University Office of Disability Services. I received a very unusual call about a prospective student in extraordinary circumstances. Is Maya Chen available? Derek put the phone on speaker. She's here. Ms. Chen, I understand you're interested in enrolling for the spring semester, despite missing our application deadline. Maya's voice was cautious. Yes, I was previously accepted for fall semester 2 years ago, but my circumstances changed. I've pulled your original application. Perfect SAT scores, 4.0 GPA, advanced placement credits in computer science and mathematics. You were offered a full scholarship that you declined. Why? I didn't decline it. My foster guardian at the time told the university I was withdrawing due to medical issues. I found out months later he'd forged my signature. Silence on the other end. Then, that's fraud. Yes, but proving it is complicated. Ms. Chen, we've had several cases of students in foster care being prevented from accepting admission by guardians who wanted to keep receiving benefit checks. It's disgraceful, and we've implemented new policies to prevent it. If you're still interested, I'd like to expedite your re-enrollment. Maya's hands shook. What would that require? An interview tomorrow at 10 copies of your high school transcripts which we have on file, and documentation of your current living situation. We have accessible on-campus housing available immediately, room and board covered by scholarship, plus a stipend for personal expenses. Derek watched Maya's face cycle through disbelief, hope, and terror in rapid succession. I'll be there, Maya said. Excellent. One more thing. We've recently partnered with a legal clinic that helps students navigate the foster care system and establish independence. I'm forwarding you their contact information. They specialize in exactly the kind of case you're facing. After the call ended, Carlos leaned back in his chair. Well, that's a game changer. On-campus housing, educational, enrollment, legal support. Court sees that they'll have a much harder time arguing you're incompetent. But I still need to prove I can handle it. And I need to survive the next 7 days without Janet Williams getting a court order. Then we file the paperwork now and hope the judge sees sense. They spent the next hour filling out forms, drafting statements, building a case for Maya's independence that rested on her intelligence, her survival skills, and her absolute determination not to be another victim of a system that ate vulnerable people alive. By the time they finished, the courthouse was closed, which meant filing first thing in the morning. Carlos walked them to the door. Derek, about that police interview tomorrow. Don't go in angry. Don't go in defensive. Just tell the truth and let me handle the rest. And if they arrest me, then Maya loses her biggest advocate right when she needs you most. So don't give them a reason. They drove back to Tommy's apartment in silence. Maya stared out the window at Missoula's streets, processing everything that had happened in the past 12 hours. This morning she'd been in a hospital bed accepting the group home as inevitable. Now she was applying to college, filing for legal independence, and building a life that felt both terrifying and possible. You okay? Derek asked. I don't know. Everything's happening so fast. We can slow down if you need to. No, slow down means they catch up. Means Janet finds a way to force me into the group home. We keep moving or we lose. Tommy's apartment was dark when they arrived. A note on the kitchen counter. At hospital for follow-up. Ribs worse than they thought. Might need surgery. Make yourselves at home. Leftovers in fridge. Maya wheeled herself to the spare room and transferred to the bed with practiced efficiency. Derek hesitated in the doorway. You need anything? Sleep, and maybe for tomorrow to not be a disaster. I can guarantee the sleep part at least. But sleep didn't come easily. Maya lay awake, listening to unfamiliar sounds, processing the magnitude of what she'd done. She'd rejected the system's solution, run away with a stranger, and gambled her entire future on the belief that she deserved better than what was being offered. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "This is Richard Foster. I heard you're making trouble for social services. That's real ungrateful considering everything I did for you." Maya's heart rate spiked. She texted back, "You stole 6 months of my benefits. That's called fraud." The response came immediately, "Prove it. I've got records showing every penny went to your care. You try to cause problems for me. I'll make sure everyone knows how unstable you really are. How you ran away with some biker because you can't handle adult responsibilities." Maya's hands shook as she typed, "Stay away from me." "Or what? You'll have your criminal boyfriend beat me up. That'll look great in court. Unstable girl with violent associations. They'll lock you up for your own protection." She threw the phone across the room, heard it hit the wall, didn't care. Tears came hot and angry, her body shaking with fury and helplessness. Derek appeared in the doorway. "What happened?" Maya couldn't speak, just pointed at the phone on the floor. Derek retrieved it, read the messages, his expression darkening with each line. "This is harassment. We're showing this to Carlos. He's right, though. Every choice I make, they'll use against me. I ran away. I'm with you. I rejected help. It all looks like I'm unstable. Or it looks like you're fighting back. Depends who's telling the story. They control the story. They're the system. I'm just some broken girl in a wheelchair." Derek knelt beside the bed, bringing himself to her eye level. "Listen to me. You are not broken. You survived things that would have killed most people. You taught yourself coding while homeless. You're brilliant and strong and stubborn as hell. Richard Foster is scared because he knows you could destroy him if you had the resources. That's why he's trying to intimidate you now before you get those resources. What if I can't do this? What if I fail the MSU interview or the court hearing or everything falls apart? Then we pick up the pieces and try something else. But giving up because you're scared, that's not the girl who survived 6 weeks on the streets. That's not the girl who told off a social worker in a diner full of cops." Maya wiped her eyes. "I'm terrified." "Good. Means you're taking this seriously. Now get some sleep because tomorrow we're going to war and you need to be sharp." But sleep was impossible. At 2 a.m, Maya wheeled herself to the kitchen where Derek sat at the table, his own demons keeping him awake. A bottle of whiskey sat in front of him, unopened. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. "Thinking about the interview tomorrow. What I'm going to say when they ask why a 45-year-old biker is helping an 18-year-old girl. Tell them the truth. The truth sounds crazy. I saw you and saw myself 25 years ago and decided to help for reasons I don't fully understand. That's not crazy. That's human." Derek studied her. "You should hate me right now. I've made your life infinitely more complicated. You gave me choices. First time in 2 years anyone's done that. Choices aren't worth much if they lead nowhere good. They lead somewhere I picked. That's worth everything." Derek's phone buzzed. Text from Marcus, last chance. "Turn in your patch tomorrow and walk away clean. Don't, and we come collect it the hard way." Maya read over his shoulder. "What's the hard way? They take it by force. Beat me down, strip the patch, make an example. Club can't show weakness by letting someone just walk away. That's barbaric. That's brotherhood. Loyalty enforced through consequences. You're not going to give it to them, are you? Already made my choice. Giving them the patch now would be admitting I was wrong to help you. I wasn't wrong. Even if it costs you everything. Everything I'm losing was built on violence and fear. Maybe it's time to build something different." The next morning arrived too quickly. Carlos met them at the police station at 8:30, his suit pressed, and his briefcase full of documents establishing Derek's character and Maya's competence. Detective Morrison was younger than Derek expected, maybe 40, with the tired eyes of someone who'd seen too many bad situations disguised as good intentions. "Mr. Sullivan, thank you for coming in voluntarily. didn't have much choice. Actually, you did, which is why I appreciate the cooperation. Morrison gestured to a small interview room. Ms. Chen, you're welcome to wait here or participate. Your choice. I'm participating. This concerns me. They settled around a metal table. Morrison placed a recorder in the center. This is a voluntary interview regarding allegations of custodial interference and potential exploitation. Mr. Sullivan, you have the right to stop at any time and request an attorney. Already got one, Derek said, nodding at Carlos. Then let's begin. How did you meet Maya Chen? Derek laid it out clearly. Finding her in the warehouse, the hypothermia, the hospital, the choice to help rather than walk away. He didn't minimize his criminal history or his Hells Angels affiliation. Didn't pretend to be something he wasn't. Morrison took notes, his expression neutral. And you're currently housing Ms. Chen. She's staying with a friend while she figures out next steps. A friend you introduced her to? Yes. Ms. Chen, do you feel safe with Mr. Sullivan? Maya met his eyes directly. I feel safer with him than I've felt in 2 years. He's never threatened me, never touched me inappropriately, never asked for anything in return for his help. But you barely know him. I know he saved my life. I know he lost his home and his brotherhood because of me. I know he's facing exactly this kind of interrogation because he helped someone in need. That tells me more about his character than months of casual acquaintance would. Morrison shifted his attention back to Derek. Social Services alleges you removed Ms. Chen from the hospital against medical advice. She discharged herself. I just gave her a ride. To avoid placement in a licensed care facility. To avoid a facility she didn't want to go to. She's 18. That's called personal choice. Or manipulation. Carlos interjected smoothly. Detective, unless you have evidence of actual manipulation, coercion, or exploitation, this line of questioning is inappropriate. Maya Chen is a legal adult who made informed decisions about her own welfare. The fact that those decisions don't align with social services preferences doesn't constitute a crime. Morrison leaned back. I'm trying to establish whether Mr. Sullivan has inappropriate intentions toward a vulnerable young woman. My intention, Derek said quietly, is to help her build a life where she doesn't have to depend on anyone. Not me, not the system, not anyone. Independence. That's all I want for her. Why? Because nobody wanted that for me, and I spent 22 years being exactly what people expected from a throwaway foster kid. Maya deserves better than what I got. Morrison studied him for a long moment. You really believe that? It's the only thing I'm sure of. The detective turned off the recorder. Off the record, I think you're either the best person Maya could have met, or the worst. I can't tell which. But I can tell you this. Social Services is pushing hard for a competency hearing. They want Maya declared unable to care for herself. If that happens, the state gets guardianship and you lose all access. When's the hearing? Next week. Judge Patterson. He's fair but conservative. Tends to side with institutional care over individual arrangements. Morrison stood. Mr. Sullivan, I don't have enough evidence to charge you with anything, but I'll be watching. If this situation goes sideways, I'll come down on you hard. Understood? Understood. They left the station to find 3 Hells Angels waiting by Derek's truck. Not Marcus, but members Derek recognized. Enforcer types. The lead one, a man called Chains, approached slowly. Pitbull sent us to collect. Tell him I'll bring it myself. He said you'd say that. Also said we're not leaving without it. Maya's voice was sharp. He's not giving you anything. Chains glanced at her with something approaching pity. Girl, this is club business. Stay out of it. It became my business when you decided his helping me was worth beating him over. We don't want to hurt him. We just want the patch. He gives it peacefully, everyone walks away clean. Derek looked at the 3 men, calculating odds and consequences. He could fight, probably take one down before the others overwhelmed him. But fighting would prove every accusation Janet Williams had made, would give Detective Morrison reason to arrest him, would destroy any chance Maya had at the court hearing. "I'll get it." He reached into his truck's cab, pulled out his leather vest with its Hell's Angels patch, the symbol of 22 years of brotherhood and belonging, ran his fingers over the worn leather one last time. Maya grabbed his arm. "You don't have to do this." "Yeah, I do. Not for them, for you. You can't win in court if I'm in jail for assault." He handed the vest to Chains, who took it with surprising gentleness. "For what it's worth," Chains said quietly. "Some of us think you're doing the right thing, but the club's the club." They left. Derek stood in the parking lot feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. 22 years gone. No more brotherhood, no more backup, no more identity, except what he built from here forward. "I'm sorry," Maya whispered. "Don't be. I chose this." Derek checked his watch. "We've got an hour before your MSU interview. You ready?" "No, but I'm going anyway." Rachel Kim's office overlooked the campus quad students hurrying between buildings with the purposeful energy of people building futures. Maya watched them through the window and tried to remember what it felt like to be that certain about tomorrow. "Miss Chen, thank you for coming." Rachel was maybe 50, with kind eyes and the efficient manner of someone who dealt with crises daily. "I've reviewed your file extensively. I have to say your situation is unusual." "That's one way to put it." "Let me be direct. Your test scores and academic record are exceptional. You should be in your sophomore year right now, probably on track for advanced degrees. Instead, you're fighting just to survive. That's a failure of every system meant to protect students like you." Maya's throat tightened. "I'm trying to get back on track." "I know, and we want to help. But I need to understand your current situation clearly. Where are you living?" "With a friend temporarily. I'm applying for on-campus housing." "Who's the friend?" Maya hesitated, knowing how it would sound. "His name is Derek Sullivan. He found me when I was homeless and helped me get medical treatment." Rachel made notes. "And your relationship with Mr. Sullivan is, he's someone who believes I deserve a chance. That's all." "Ms. Chen, I'm going to ask you a difficult question, and I need complete honesty. Are you being coerced or controlled in any way?" "No, I'm making my own choices for the first time in 2 years, even though those choices have resulted in conflict with social services and law enforcement, especially because of that. The system wanted me to accept a group home where I'd be warehoused until I aged out of their concern. Derek showed me I could fight for something better." Rachel set down her pen. "Here's the situation. MSU can offer you full scholarship, accessible housing, and support services. But we can't be in the middle of a legal battle with the state over your competency. If you enroll, you need to be stable and independent. Can you guarantee that—" "I'm filing for legal independence next week. Court hearing is scheduled. And if you lose that hearing, then I appeal. And I keep fighting until someone understands that being disabled doesn't make me incompetent." Rachel studied her for a long moment. "I'm going to tell you something that doesn't leave this room. I was in foster care until I was 19, aged out with nothing, worked 3 jobs to put myself through. Community college, transferred here for my bachelor's, eventually got my master's and this position. I understand exactly what you're facing." Maya felt tears threatening. "Then you know I can't give up. I know you shouldn't have to fight this hard. But I also know you can win if you're smart about it." Rachel pulled up forms on her computer. "I'm approving your re-enrollment effective immediately. Spring semester starts in 6 weeks. That gives you time to win your court case and get settled. But Maya, if you're not stable by then, we'll have to reconsider. The university can't support students who are in constant legal crisis." "I understand. And thank you." Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you graduate. They left campus with Maya's enrollment confirmed and a housing assignment pending the court outcome. Derek drove while Maya processed the impossible reality that she was going to college. Actually going to college 6 days after nearly dying in a warehouse. Her phone rang. Carlos Rodriguez. Maya, we've got a problem. Janet Williams filed an emergency petition claiming you're in immediate danger. Judge granted a temporary hearing for tomorrow morning. If we lose, you go into state custody pending the full competency trial. Tomorrow? That's not enough time. I know. But we work with what we've got. Can you get character witnesses? People who can testify you're capable and stable. Maya looked at Derek, at this man who'd sacrificed everything, and realized she had exactly one person who truly knew her. One person who believed in her capacity. I'll find someone, she lied. That night, sitting in Tommy's apartment while Derek met with Carlos to prepare testimony, Maya made a list of everyone who might speak for her. The list was painfully short. Her parents were dead. Her foster families were either negligent or criminal. She had no friends from high school, having been too busy surviving to build relationships. Her phone buzzed. Email from Montana State University Disability Services. Rachel Kim had attached a letter of support for the court hearing stating Maya's academic qualifications and enrollment status. It was something, but not enough. Derek returned at midnight, exhausted and worried. Carlos thinks we're in trouble. Janet's got hospital psychiatrists ready to testify about trauma bonding and impaired judgment. She's got your medical records showing paralysis and previous psychological evaluation after your parents died. She's building a case that you're not capable of independent living. What do we have? Your intelligence, your survival skills, and my testimony that you've made rational decisions under pressure. Carlos says it's not enough. Maya's hands clenched. Then what is enough? What do I have to prove that I can walk, that I'm not disabled, that I don't need help sometimes? You need to prove that needing help doesn't mean you can't make your own choices. How? Derek was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Tommy, I need a favor, a big one. The next morning, Maya wheeled herself into the courthouse with Derek and Carlos flanking her, a manila folder of documents clutched in her lap. Janet Williams sat across the aisle with 2 attorneys and a hospital psychiatrist. The message was clear. The state had resources. Maya didn't. Judge Patterson entered a gray-haired man in his 60s, with the stern expression of someone who'd heard every excuse and believed none of them. This is an emergency hearing regarding the competency and safety of Maya Chen. Ms. Williams, you filed the petition. Proceed. Janet stood her presentation polished and professional. She outlined Maya's medical history, her homelessness, her inappropriate relationship with Derek, her rejection of proper care. She called the psychiatrist who testified about trauma bonding and impaired decision-making in vulnerable populations. Ms. Chen has demonstrated a pattern of risky choices and attachment to an individual who cannot provide appropriate support. We believe she requires state intervention for her own protection. Judge Patterson turned to Maya. Miss Chen, you understand the state's concerns. Yes, Your Honor, I also understand they're wrong. Explain. Maya wheeled herself forward, her voice steady despite her terror. I'm paralyzed, not incompetent. I survived 6 weeks on the streets because I'm capable of making difficult decisions. I rejected the group home because I deserve better than being warehoused. And I'm enrolled at Montana State University because I'm building a future, not just surviving. With whose support? My own. And Derek Sullivan's. And Montana State's Disability Services. And anyone else who believes I'm worth investing in. The state believes you need professional care. The state failed me. Richard Foster stole my benefits while under their supervision. I aged out with no support while under their care. Derek Sullivan found me dying and actually helped. I'll trust his judgment over theirs. Judge Patterson looked at Janet. Williams, you're asking me to remove an 18-year-old's autonomy based on speculation about her judgment. That's a high bar. Your Honor, Ms. Chen is vulnerable and making decisions under the influence of an inappropriate relationship. Is there evidence of actual harm, abuse, exploitation? Not yet, but the risk is substantial. Risk isn't evidence. The judge turned to Carlos. Mr. Rodriguez, what's your client's position? My client requests the court recognize her legal adulthood and decision-making capacity. She's enrolled in university pursuing independence and making rational choices about her own welfare. The judge studied the documents in front of him. Ms. Chen, if I deny this petition, what's your plan? Maya took a breath. Enroll at MSU in 6 weeks. Live in accessible campus housing. Complete my degree in computer science. Build a career that proves disabled people can contribute meaningfully to society. And never let anyone tell me I'm not worth the effort again. Judge Patterson was quiet for a long moment. Then he closed the file. Motion denied. Ms. Chen retains her legal autonomy. Ms. Williams, the state may file for a full competency hearing if you believe there's cause, but this emergency petition is dismissed. Ms. Chen has demonstrated sufficient capacity to make her own choices. The gavel came down. Maya sat frozen, unable to process that she'd actually won. Janet stood immediately. Your Honor, we request. Your request is noted and denied. This hearing is concluded. Outside the courthouse, Maya burst into tears. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming relief of finally being heard. Derek knelt beside her wheelchair. You did it. We did it. No, that was all you. I just drove you here. Carlos appeared with paperwork. This doesn't end it. Janet can still file for a full hearing. But for now, you're free. Use that freedom wisely. Maya wheeled herself to the courthouse steps, looking out at Missoula, spreading before her full of possibility and challenge, and a future she'd have to fight for every single day. Her phone buzzed. Text from Rachel Kim Hurd about the hearing. Your dorm room is ready whenever you are. Welcome to Montana State University. Maya showed Derek the message. I have a dorm room. I'm actually going to college. You earned it. What about you? What happens now? Derek looked at the leather vest. He no longer wore the brotherhood. He'd lost the life he'd dismantled for a girl he barely knew. Now I figure out who I am when I'm not defined by a patch and a reputation. Might be interesting to find out. They drove back to Tommy's apartment to find 3 people waiting. Tommy still bruised, but smiling. Rachel Kim with enrollment paperwork. And someone Maya didn't recognize, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes. Maya Chen, the woman asked. I'm Dr. Patricia Reeves. I run the MSU legal clinic for students in the foster care system. Rachel told me about your situation. I'd like to help you go after Richard Foster for the benefits he stole. Maya looked at Derek, at Tommy, at Rachel, and Dr. Reeves at these people who'd somehow decided she was worth fighting for. Why? She whispered. Why are you all helping me? Tommy spoke first. Because Derek's my brother, and anyone he believes in is worth believing in. Rachel smiled. Because I remember what it's like to fight alone. Nobody should have to do that. Dr. Reeves pulled out a business card. Because the system fails too many people like you. And every time we help one person fight back, we make the system a little bit better for the next person. Derek said nothing, just handed Maya her wheelchair that he'd spent hours modifying to be perfect for her specific needs. In that moment, Maya understood something profound. She wasn't being rescued. She was being empowered. There was a difference, and it mattered more than anything else in the world. 6 weeks passed like a storm, fast and transformative, and leaving everything changed in its wake. Maya moved into her dorm room at Montana State University on a Wednesday morning. Derek carrying boxes while she directed traffic from her wheelchair with the precision of a general commanding troops. "That box goes by the desk. No, the other desk. Yes, there." Her roommate, a sophomore named Jessica, who studied environmental science, watched the organized chaos with amusement. "You two have this down to a science." "Practice," Maya said. "We've moved 3 times in the past month." Derek set down the last box, his back aching, but his expression satisfied. The dorm room was small, but fully accessible, with a modified bathroom and lowered desk surfaces. Maya's parents' wheelchair fit perfectly beside the bed. "You need anything else?" Derek asked. Maya looked around at the room that represented everything she'd fought for. "No, I think I'm good." "Then I'll get out of your way. Let you settle in." "Derek." Maya wheeled herself over to him. "Thank you. For everything. You did the hard part. I just drove the truck." After he left, Jessica helped Maya unpack. The other girl worked in comfortable silence until curiosity finally won. "So, what's the deal with you and the biker guy everyone's been talking about it?" Maya had expected this question since orientation week when her story had spread through campus like wildfire. Disabled girl rescued by Hell's Angel who gave up everything to help her. It made good gossip, which meant it was almost entirely wrong. "Derek found me when I was homeless, helped me get stable enough to come here. That's it." "That's not it. I heard he fought his entire motorcycle gang for you, lost his home and everything. He made choices. I made choices. We both ended up here. Are you two like together?" "No. He's 45 and I'm 18. We're friends. Or something like friends. I don't really know what to call it." Jessica pulled out a photo frame, studied the picture of a couple Maya recognized as her parents. "These them? Yeah, 2 years ago, before the accident. I'm sorry." "Me too. But they'd be proud of this, of me being here." Classes started the next day. Maya's computer science professor, Dr. Alan Chen, no relation, took one look at her transcript and moved her into the advanced section. The material was challenging, but familiar. Her brain hungry for the kind of problems that had solutions, rather than the kind that required fighting systems designed to crush people. Between classes, Maya met with Dr. Patricia Reeves at the legal clinic. They'd been building a case against Richard Foster for 6 weeks, accumulating evidence of financial fraud that spanned multiple foster children over 8 years. "We've got bank records showing he deposited your disability checks into his personal account," Dr. Reeves explained, spreading documents across her desk. "We've got testimony from 3 other former foster kids he did the same thing to. And we've got his signature on forms claiming he spent the money on your care when you were actually homeless." "Is it enough?" "For criminal charges." "Yes, for recovery of funds. That's harder. Richard spent most of the money. Even if we win, you might only recover a fraction of what he stole." Maya's hands tightened on her armrests. "I don't care about the money. I care about him not doing this to someone else." "Then you'll be happy to know the district attorney is interested. Very interested. Apparently Richard's been on their radar for years, but no one would testify against him. You're changing that." "When do we move forward?" "Preliminary hearing is next month. You'll need to testify. It won't be easy. His lawyer will try to discredit you, claim you're bitter about aging out making false accusations. Let them try. I've got bank statements and witnesses. What's he got lies and stolen money?" Dr. Reeves smiled. "I like your confidence. Hold on to that." Derek, meanwhile, was rebuilding his life from scratch. Without the Hell's Angels, without the cabin, without the identity he'd worn for 22 years, he was discovering who he actually was beneath the leather and reputation. Tommy's apartment had become a temporary haven, while Derek saved money from his motorcycle repair shop. The business was growing, word spreading that he was honest and skilled. Customers didn't care about his past, as long as he fixed their bikes properly. But the loneliness hit harder than Derek expected. 22 years of brotherhood meant he'd never learned to be alone. Every morning he woke up expecting club business, expected brothers who needed backup, expected the structure that had defined his entire adult life. Instead, he had silence and freedom and the terrifying responsibility of choosing who to become him next. His phone rang at midnight on a Friday. Tommy, his voice strained. "Brother, I need you at the hospital. It's bad." Derek drove 90 miles an hour to Glacier Falls General, his mind racing through worst-case scenarios. Tommy had been recovering from the Reyes crew attack, but complications had developed. Internal bleeding the doctors had missed. He found Tommy in the ICU machines, beeping tubes everywhere, his face pale, but his eyes sharp. "Don't look at me like I'm dying. I'm not dying." "What happened?" "Ruptured spleen, delayed complication from the knife wound. They're taking me into surgery in an hour." Tommy gripped Derek's hand. "Listen, there's something you need to know. Marcus came to see me yesterday." Derek's jaw tightened. "What did he want?" "To tell me the Reyes crew is pushing harder. They think without you we're weak. 3 of our businesses got hit this week. Marcus wants to retaliate, but half the club thinks we should negotiate. They're fracturing Derek. Without you holding the line, they're falling apart." "Not my problem anymore." "Isn't it? You spent 22 years building that brotherhood. You really going to let it collapse because they made you choose? They made their choice when they kicked me out. Did they, or did you make yours and they respected it?" Tommy coughed, pain flashing across his face. "Marcus told me something else. Said the vote to kick you out wasn't unanimous. Said it was close. Real close." Derek felt something shift in his chest. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're miserable, brother. I see it every day. You helped Maya, which was right. But you're lost without the club, which is also true. Maybe there's a way to have both. The club made it clear. I can't have both." The club made a decision in anger. People make different decisions when they've had time to think. Before Derek could respond, nurses arrived to prep Tommy for surgery. Derek waited in the hallway, Tommy's words circling in his mind like vultures. His phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. "Heard Tommy's in surgery. How is he?" Derek stared at the message for a long moment before typing back, "Fighting." Like always. Marcus's response came immediately. "Good. We need fighters. Miss having you on our side." "I made my choice. Choices can change. Think about it." Derek deleted the message and went to find coffee. In the hospital cafeteria, he ran into someone he didn't expect. Janet Williams, the social worker who'd fought so hard to take Maya into state custody. She looked as surprised to see him as he felt. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. "How's Maya?" Janet finally asked. "Thriving. Straight A's at MSU, working with the legal clinic to go after Richard Foster, building exactly the life she deserves." Janet's expression was complicated. "I heard about the enrollment. I'm glad she's doing well." "Are you... because 6 weeks ago you wanted her declared incompetent." 6 weeks ago, I was looking at a homeless, disabled teenager with no support system and a man with a criminal record. The statistics on situations like that are grim, Mr. Sullivan. Most end badly. But this one didn't. No, this one didn't. And I'm professional enough to admit when I'm wrong. Janet pulled out a business card. "I'm still Maya's caseworker until she's officially aged out of the system at 19. If she needs anything, I'd like to help. Properly, this time." Derek took the card, studying Janet's face for signs of manipulation or agenda. He found only genuine regret. Why the change of heart? Because I looked into Richard Foster's history after your lawyer started asking questions, found 8 years of complaints that were dismissed because we didn't want to deal with the paperwork, found kids who needed help and got bureaucracy instead. Maya was right. The system failed her. I was part of that failure. So what are you going to do about it? Make sure the next Maya Chen doesn't fall through the cracks, starting with testifying at Richard Foster's criminal trial. They parted ways. Derek sat in the cafeteria nursing terrible coffee and thinking about second chances and changed minds and whether redemption was possible for people who'd made the wrong choices for the right reasons. Tommy came through surgery successfully. Derek stayed until he was stable, then drove back to Missoula as dawn broke over the mountains. He texted Maya, "Tommy's okay. Surgery went well." Her response came immediately. "Thank God. Are you okay?" "Yeah, just tired." "Liar. Come to campus when you get back. There's something I want to show you." Maya was waiting outside her dorm when Derek arrived, her face bright with excitement despite the early hour. "What's so important it couldn't wait until I slept?" She handed him her laptop. On screen was a website professionally designed with the header, Foster Care Tech Initiative. "What is this?" "My senior project. I'm building a platform that connects foster kids aging out of the system with resources, mentors, housing, assistance, legal help. Everything I wish I'd had 2 years ago." Derek scrolled through the site. It was comprehensive, thoughtful, exactly the kind of tool that could have prevented Maya's homelessness. This is incredible. Dr. Reeves helped with the legal framework. Rachel Kim connected me with funding sources, and I've got 3 other students from foster care backgrounds helping me code it. We launch in beta next month. Maya, this could help thousands of people. That's the idea. Every kid who doesn't end up starving in a warehouse is a win. She paused. "Derek, I need to ask you something. When we launch, we'll need an advisory board. People who understand the system from different angles. Would you be willing to serve? Me, I'm an ex-con biker with no formal education. You're someone who saw a problem and fixed it. That's more valuable than any degree." Derek looked at this remarkable young woman who'd transformed from dying in a warehouse to building solutions that would help others avoid her fate. 6 weeks of growth that most people didn't achieve in decades. I'd be honored. The next month was chaos. Maya's classes demanded all her intellectual energy, while the legal case against Richard Foster required emotional reserves she wasn't sure she possessed. Dr. Reeves prepped her for testimony, running through questions the defense would ask, preparing her for the character attacks that were inevitable. "He's going to claim you're lying for money, that you're bitter about aging out, that your disability makes you confused about what actually happened." "Let him. I've got bank records." "Bank records show money went into his account. They don't prove intent to defraud unless we can demonstrate he didn't spend it on your care." "I was homeless. That's pretty good proof he didn't spend it on my care." "His lawyer will argue you chose homelessness, that you ran away from adequate care because you're unstable." Maya's hands clenched. "I hate this. I hate that I have to prove I was victimized. Why doesn't he have to prove he wasn't a thief?" "Because the burden of proof is on the prosecution. That's how the system works." "The system is broken." "Yes, which is why people like you are going to fix it." The preliminary hearing arrived on a cold November morning. Maya wheeled herself into the courthouse with Derek beside her and Dr. Reeves leading the way. Richard Foster sat across the aisle looking confident and wronged his expensive lawyer whispering strategies. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Michelle Torres, laid out the case methodically. Bank records showing deposits, testimony from other foster children, documentation of Maya's homelessness while supposedly under Richard's care. Richard's lawyer countered with character witnesses claiming Richard was a devoted foster parent. with receipts for expenses that couldn't be verified, with Maya's psychiatric evaluation from after her parents' death, suggesting she had unresolved trauma that affected her judgment. When Maya took the stand, the defense attorney came at her hard. "Ms. Chen, you claim Mr. Foster stole your disability benefits. But isn't it true you ran away from his care?" "I didn't run away. I aged out at 18 and he kicked me out." "With no money and nowhere to go, why didn't you contact social services?" "I did. They told me I was an adult and needed to handle my own housing." "So the system failed you and you're blaming Mr. Foster?" "No. I'm blaming Mr. Foster for stealing 6 months of benefits while I was under his care. The system failed me separately." "You've aligned yourself with Derek Sullivan, a known criminal with gang affiliations. Doesn't that suggest poor judgment?" Maya met the lawyer's eyes. "Derek Sullivan found me dying and saved my life. Richard Foster took my money and threw me away. I trust my judgment about who's actually dangerous." The courtroom rippled with murmurs. The defense attorney pressed harder. "You're currently enrolled at Montana State University on scholarship. Isn't this lawsuit really about getting money you don't actually need? This lawsuit is about making sure Richard Foster doesn't do to another kid what he did to me. I don't care about recovering the money. I care about him facing consequences." "Very noble. But you did file for financial damages." Dr. Reeves stood. "Your Honor, the financial damages are for pain and suffering, not benefit recovery. Ms. Chen has been clear about her motivations." The judge allowed the objection. Maya continued testifying, laying out 6 months of stolen checks, of asking Richard for money for food, and being told the benefits had been spent on her care of turning 18 and being handed garbage bags for her belongings and told to leave. By the time she finished, 3 jurors were crying. Richard took the stand in his own defense, calm and practiced. He painted himself as a devoted guardian dealing with a difficult teenager, claimed every penny went to Maya's care, suggested her paralysis made her high maintenance and expensive. "I gave that girl everything, a home food medical care, and this is how she repays me with lies and accusations." Michelle Torres stood for cross-examination. "Mr. Foster, if you spent Maya's benefits on her care, where are the receipts?" "I don't keep receipts for everything. Food, utilities, basic necessities." "But you claimed $18,000 in expenses over 6 months. Surely you have some documentation. Like I said, basic necessities. Groceries, electric bills, things like that. Things that would show up on your bank statements." "Of course." Michelle pulled out documents. "These are your bank statements from the period in question. I see deposits of Maya's disability checks. I see withdrawals at casinos, liquor stores, sporting goods stores. I don't see evidence of $18,000 spent on a disabled teenager's care." Richard's lawyer objected. The judge reviewed the statements and allowed them as evidence. The hearing lasted 6 hours. By the end, the judge ruled there was sufficient evidence for a criminal trial. Richard Foster was charged with fraud, theft, and exploitation of a vulnerable person. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Maya's case had attracted media attention, the foster care tech initiative she was building, adding human interest to an already compelling story. "Ms. Chen, how does it feel to see your abuser face charges?" Maya looked directly at the camera. "It feels like justice taking its first steps. But this isn't about me anymore. This is about every foster kid who's been stolen from, lied to, and discarded by people who were supposed to protect them. Richard Foster is one person. The system that enabled him is the real problem. What would you say to other foster youth in similar situations? Fight back. Document everything. Find people who believe in you. And never accept what they tell you is good enough when you deserve better." The interview went viral. By that evening, Maya's foster care tech initiative website had crashed from traffic. By the next morning, 3 major foundations had contacted DeReeves about funding. Derek watched the interview from Tommy's apartment, his phone buzzing with messages from people he hadn't heard from in weeks. Former club members congratulating him, people from town offering support. Even Marcus sent a simple text, "Proud of you, brother." The word brother hit harder than Derek expected. He'd thought cutting ties with the Hells Angels meant cutting ties with that identity completely. But maybe Tommy was right. Maybe there was a way to honor what the brotherhood had meant while building something new. He drove to the Rusty Spoke that night, his first time back since surrendering his patch. The parking lot was full of motorcycles, the sound of engines and laughter spilling into the November cold. Inside, conversations stopped. 12 men turned to look at Derek, standing in the doorway without his vest, without his patch, without the armor he'd worn for 22 years. Marcus stood slowly. "Reaper." "I'm not Reaper anymore." "No. You're Derek Sullivan. The guy who gave up everything to help someone who needed it. The guy who showed us what loyalty actually looks like when it costs you something real." Derek stayed by the door, unsure of his welcome. "I'm not here to ask for my patch back." "Good. Because we're not giving it back. What you did leaving the club for that girl that closed a door, can't reopen it." "Then why am I here?" Marcus walked over, stopping a few feet away. "Because you're still our brother. Patch or no patch. And brothers help each other when things get hard." "What are you asking? The Reyes crew is pushing hard. We need counsel. Someone who knows how to fight smart instead of just fighting hard. You built a life outside the club. We need to learn how to do that without losing what makes us us." Derek looked around at faces he'd known for decades. Men who'd bled with him, fought beside him, shared victories and losses. Walking away had been necessary, but staying away forever felt like abandoning family, even dysfunctional family. "I can't come back to the club. That bridge is burned." "Not asking you to. Asking you to help us evolve. The world's changing. We change or we die. Your proof change is possible." But Derek thought about Maya transforming trauma into advocacy, about Tommy fighting to recover from injuries that could have killed him, about himself rebuilding an identity from scratch at 45. "I'll help, but on my terms. No violence, no illegal activity, just advice from someone who learned the hard way that there's more than one kind of strength." Marcus extended his hand. "Deal." They shook, and Derek felt something settle in his chest. Not the old brotherhood, but something new, a connection that honored the past, while building toward something better. Back at Montana State, Maya received an unexpected visitor. Janet Williams carrying a stack of files and an expression that was almost nervous. "I hope you don't mind me dropping by." Maya gestured to her dorm room. "Come in. What brings you here?" Janet set down the files. "I've been doing research since the hearing. Found 47 cases similar to yours in the past decade. Foster kids who aged out with missing benefits, fraudulent guardians, systematic failures. I want to make this right. How? By actually doing my job. By investigating every complaint instead of dismissing them as difficult teenagers. By being the social worker I thought I was when I started this career." Janet pulled out a document. "I'm also testifying at Richard Foster's criminal trial. Full disclosure of every warning sign we ignored, every complaint we dismissed. It won't undo the damage, but it might prevent future damage." Maya studied the woman who'd tried so hard to control her life 6 weeks ago. "Why the change?" "Because you were right. About everything. The system failed you. I failed you. And instead of admitting it, I tried to force you into a box that made my job easier. That's not care, that's convenience. So what are you going to do differently? Listen to the kids first. Believe them first. Investigate thoroughly instead of assuming they're exaggerating. And make sure no one else gets treated the way you were treated." Maya felt something hard in her chest soften slightly. That would mean a lot. I know I can't fix the past, but maybe I can help you fix the future. Your tech initiative, the foster care platform. I'd like to help. Connect you with kids who need it. Promote it through official channels. Make sure it actually reaches the people it's designed to serve. You'd do that? It's the least I can do. I've spent 12 years moving files around. Time to actually move the needle. After Janet left, Maya sat in her dorm room thinking about forgiveness and second chances and how people changed when they finally had to face the consequences of their choices. Her phone rang. Derek. Hey, you busy? Never too busy. What's up? Just wanted to hear your voice. Make sure you're okay after the hearing. I'm okay. Better than okay. Janet Williams was just here. She's going to help with the platform. That's huge. You building an army of advocates. Something like that. How are you really? Derek was quiet for a moment. I went to the Rusty Spoke tonight. Talked to Marcus. Maya's heart skipped. And they want my help evolving the club. No patch, no membership, just counsel from someone who's been where they are. How do you feel about that? Scared? Hopeful? Like maybe I can honor what the brotherhood meant while building something new? Like maybe you've been teaching me there's more than one way to belong? Derek, you saved my life. No. I gave you a chance. You saved your own life. We saved each other. There's a difference. 2 months later, Richard Foster's criminal trial ended with a guilty verdict on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 5 years in prison and ordered him to pay restitution to all foster children he'd defrauded. Maya watched the sentencing from the gallery Derek beside her Dr. Reeves, on her other side Janet Williams, 3 rows back. When the judge read the verdict, Maya felt tears she didn't know she'd been holding. Outside the courthouse, reporters asked for statements. Maya was ready. This verdict doesn't give me back the 6 months I spent homeless. Doesn't erase the trauma or the fear or the cold nights wondering if I'd survive until morning. But it proves that vulnerable people matter. That stealing from kids in wheelchairs has consequences. That the system can work when enough people decide to make it work. What's next for you? Finishing my degree, growing the foster care tech initiative, making sure every kid who ages out knows they have resources and people who believe in them, and living the life I nearly died for. Maya's platform launched officially in January, with funding from 3 foundations and official support from Montana Social Services. By March, it had helped 200 foster youth find housing, legal assistance, educational opportunities, and mentorship. By June, other states were requesting similar programs. Derek's motorcycle repair shop expanded to employ 5 people, 3 of them former foster kids. Maya had connected with job training. He consulted monthly with the Hells Angels on legitimate business practices, helping them transition from criminal enterprise to legitimate operation. It was slow, difficult work, but it was work that mattered. Tommy recovered fully and opened a veteran support center, with Derek's help creating space for former military struggling to adjust to civilian life. The center partnered with Maya's initiative, connecting foster youth with veteran mentors who understood what it meant to be discarded by systems that promised protection. On a May afternoon, Derek drove to Montana State for Maya's first-year completion ceremony. She'd maintained a 4.0 GPA while building a non-profit that was changing lives. The ceremony was small, but meaningful. Maya wheeled across the stage to receive recognition for academic excellence and community impact. When she accepted the award, she looked directly at Derek in the audience. This belongs to everyone who refused to accept that my disability defined my worth. To Dr. Reeves, who taught me to fight legally. To Rachel Kim, who showed me institutions could help instead of hurt. To Janet Williams, who proved people can change. To Tommy Rodriguez, who gave me a place to land. And to Derek Sullivan, who saw a dying girl in a warehouse and decided she deserved to live. The applause was thunderous. Derek wiped his eyes, not bothering to hide the tears. After the ceremony, they drove to a spot overlooking Missoula. The city spread below them, like possibility made visible. "I've been thinking," Maya said, "about what happens after graduation. You've got 2 more years. I know, but I'm planning ahead. There are venture capital firms interested in the platform. Real money scaling nationally, hiring staff. It could become huge. That's incredible. But it means decisions. Do I take the money and risk losing control of the mission? Do I keep it small and reach fewer people? Do I stay in Montana or move to Silicon Valley where the resources are?" Derek looked at her, seeing not the starving girl from the warehouse, but a powerful young woman wrestling with meaningful choices. "What do you want?" "I want to help as many people as possible without compromising what makes the platform work. I want to honor my parents' memory by building something that lasts. And I want to prove that people like me aren't burdens to be managed, we're assets to be invested in." "Then do that. Whatever form it takes, do that." Maya was quiet for a moment. "What about you? What do you want?" Derek thought about the question he'd been asking himself for months. "I want to keep building. The shop, the veteran center, helping the club transition. I want to wake up every day knowing I'm creating something instead of destroying something. And I want to watch you change the world because I know you will." We changed each other's world. That counts for something. It counts for everything. They sat in comfortable silence, 2 people who'd met at their lowest points and refused to stay there. The warehouse where Derek had found Maya was being converted into a community center for homeless youth. The group home in Billings had been investigated after Maya's case, revealing systematic neglect that led to administrative changes. Richard Foster's conviction had sparked a wave of investigations into foster care fraud across Montana. One person's fight had become a movement. One biker's choice had become a blueprint for redemption. Maya's phone buzzed with a message from a foster youth in Wyoming who'd found her platform and used it to secure housing and college enrollment. Then another message from a girl in Idaho who'd avoided homelessness because of resources Maya had built. Then another, and another, each one a life changed because Maya had refused to accept that surviving was enough. Derek watched her read the messages, saw the weight of responsibility and the lightness of purpose fighting for space on her face. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, just realizing that almost dying in a warehouse was the beginning, not the end. That every terrible thing that happened led to this moment where I can help people avoid the same terrible things." "You turned your pain into purpose. That's rare." "We both did. You spent 22 years being who everyone expected, then threw it away to become who you needed to be. That's just as rare." The sun was setting over Missoula, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Derek thought about the man he'd been 6 months ago, defined by violence and loyalty to codes that required him to be less than human. That man seemed like a stranger, now someone he'd known intimately, but no longer recognized. "I was talking to Marcus last week," Derek said. "He told me something interesting. Said that helping you was the most Hell's Angels thing I'd ever done." "How's that? Because the club's whole identity is protecting people who can't protect themselves. We just forgot that somewhere along the way started protecting territories and profits instead of people." He said watching me choose you over the club reminded them what they'd lost. "Are you going back?" "No, that door's closed, but I'm helping them find a new door, one that leads somewhere better." Maya reached over and took his hand, an easy gesture of affection that would have been impossible 6 months ago when touch meant danger and trust was a fantasy. "Thank you," she said simply. "For what?" "For seeing me when I was invisible. For fighting when fighting cost you everything. For showing me that people can be good even when the world tells them goodness is weakness." Derek squeezed her hand gently. You showed me the same thing. That strength isn't violence. That courage is choosing to care when caring makes you vulnerable. That the best thing you can do with a second chance is help someone else get their first chance. They watched the sun disappear below the horizon, two survivors who'd refused to let their scars define their futures. The girl who'd faced winter alone had found warmth. The biker who'd carried her had found purpose. Together they'd built something neither could have created separately, proof that broken systems can't break people who refuse to stay broken. That chosen family matters more than blood or patches, that the most profound transformations happen when someone decides another person's life is worth fighting for. Maya would go on to graduate, summa cum laude, expand her platform to 43 states, and testify before Congress about foster care reform. Derek would build his repair shop into a social enterprise, employing dozens of former foster youth and veterans, creating paths to stability for people society had written off. Their story would be told in newspapers and documentaries, held up as an example of what's possible when people choose connection over convenience. But none of that mattered as much as this moment sitting on a hill overlooking Missoula. Two people who'd met at their breaking points and refused to break, who'd faced winter alone until someone carried them through it, who'd learned that being saved and saving yourself aren't contradictory, they're collaborative. Maya Chen had survived because Derek Sullivan chose to help. Derek Sullivan had transformed because Maya Chen chose to trust. And in that choosing, in that mutual decision to see each other's worth when no one else would, they'd both discovered something more valuable than rescue or redemption. They'd discovered that sometimes the people who save us are the ones we save in return, and that the strongest bonds aren't forged in comfort, but in the fire of fighting together for futures no one else believed they deserved.